Okay, let's just dive right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a truly thrilling tale of the high seas, shady tavern deals, and a mysterious island discovery that completely defies logic. But here's the catch. We aren't just recounting the events the way you might normally hear them. We're looking at this whole adventure purely from the highly loyal, deeply sensory, and mostly annoyed perspective of a lemur named Milo. Because, when you look at a wild adventure through the eyes of an animal companion, especially a land mammal stuck at sea, every single detail, every smell, and every perceived danger takes on a completely different meaning.
So, let's put ourselves right in the thick of it. Imagine you're Milo for a second. Your reality is, well, pretty grim. You're perched atop your best friend Gemma's shoulder, right at the helm of a ship called the Mystic Reed. The midday sun is blazing, but your entire existence is defined by one unavoidable fact. You are constantly wet, and literally everything on this boat reeks of salt water. You're just staring out at this vast, incredibly annoying ocean, sort of resigning yourself to the endless squawks of seagulls and the sting of barnacles. And then, out of absolutely nowhere, boom, the boat shudders, shimmies, and comes to a violent, jarring stop. They've just run aground on a patch of land that honestly simply wasn't there a moment ago.
Section 1. A very wet lemur. To really understand Milo's state of mind right at the moment of the crash, think about the stark contrast between him and Gemma. Gemma relies on textbook navigation logic, right? Memorizing that the left side of the boat is port because, hey, both words have exactly 4 letters. It's a neat, practical, human memorization technique. But Milo? Milo operates strictly on ocean logic. He is a land mammal by nature, and he really doesn't care about letter counts. To him, the ocean is just this terrible place that stings his nostrils, ruffles his fur the wrong way, and offers absolutely zero comfort. He is braving this onslaught purely out of sheer loyalty to Gemma and whatever their mysterious mission is.
And that mission is exactly what brings us to this specific moment. Milo watches Gemma stare down at this rusted, dead compass hanging around her neck. She's wiping salt water off her glasses, looking totally defeated, and shouting that the island they're searching for is literally lost to the world. And it's right after she says this, as she's walking to the stern of the boat, that the crash happens. Milo's reaction? He immediately throws his hands and his tail straight up in the air. Just pure, unfiltered animal instinct signaling to the universe, hey, this was not my fault.
Section 2. The Shady Sea Merchant.
Let's actually trace the journey that got them into this mess. 3 weeks earlier, Gemma and Milo were sitting in the shadowy corners of the Starlight Tavern in Harpertown. They were taking a meeting with this handsome, mustachioed sea merchant wearing a fancy tricorn hat. And this guy lays out an incredibly vague timeline to find what he called the most greatest treasure in the world. He tells them they have to cross the Mossy Channel, head due south of Heart Mountain, and sail onward for 3 days to find the forgotten island. Gemma obviously didn't trust him. She even noted he had a suspiciously smooth way of making salty words sound sweet. But what was Milo doing during all this negotiating?
2. That is the exact number of minutes Milo spent fiercely staring at this shady merchant without blinking a single time. I mean, think about that level of intensity. While Gemma is busy analyzing the merchant's words and getting distracted by a piece of corn stuck in his teeth, Milo is operating on pure protective animal instinct. He just inherently knows something is totally off with this guy. But despite her doubts, Gemma's desperate for adventure, so she agrees to the guy's steep price. She gives Milo a quick nod. Now think about how this deal actually goes down. Milo, possessing a completely unique prehensile tail that can grip objects, uses it to lift a heavy pouch of coins and drop it right onto the table, all without ever breaking his unblinking stare. The merchant snatches the money, leans in, whispers some completely foreign landmarks, and then seemingly vanishes into thin air, leaving only his fancy hat on the table. It's a pretty great parlor trick. Well, right up until they hear a muffled, "You're welcome," from under the table, and the merchant's hand reaches up to awkwardly drag his high-quality hat down with him.
Section 3. Blue Sand, Empty Huts.
So fast forward back to the crash. Stepping off the Jacob's ladder of their boat, they finally hit a shoreline made of this really strange ocean blue and dark green sand. But honestly, Milo doesn't care about the sand. He's absolutely starving. To a hungry lemur, the island's flora breaks down incredibly simply. There are literally only 3 trees on the entire beach. You've got 1 coconut tree, a slightly better coconut tree, and a third completely useless non-coconut tree. Milo spots a fallen coconut, grabs it, victoriously smashes it open on a rock, greedily chugs the water, and then offers Gemma the other half. It's a massive lemur victory.
But Gemma, she declines the snack. She's hyper-focused on exploring the single vine-covered hut sitting on the island. When she pushes the door to get in, the whole thing completely dislodges and just crashes to the floor. And being a proper human, she actually apologizes out loud to the totally empty room because, manners are manners. Milo, on the other hand, finishes his coconut meat and just casually tosses the empty shell right onto the broken debris. Lemur rules apply here. Manners simply aren't in his job description.
Right, so inside the hut, the suspense really starts mounting. Gemma clears away some vines covering the windows to let the sunlight in, and it reveals a compact little fire pit. And those wooden embers, they're actually still warm. There's a chair that looks like it was recently dusted off by a large hand. Someone was just here, like very recently. They also find a tin box and some clay bowls, but they are completely empty. Absolutely nothing of value. As the harsh reality sets in for Gemma that the sea merchant totally lied to them, Milo isn't taking any chances. He just pops his empty coconut shell right onto his head like a little battle helmet.
Section 4. Inside the Red Cave.
After clearing the empty hut, Gemma locks onto this small cave entrance nearby, made from these handmade brown stones. They track some of that weird blue sand on their boots as they walk down a sloping dirt path straight into the dark, and inside it gets pitch black fast. Gemma feels around, finds a wall sconce holding a torch, and says, "Milo, flint me." Now, Milo's technique here is, well, it's simple. Step 1, pull the flint stone from his pouch. Step 2, toss it swiftly, aiming right past Gemma's open hand. And Step 3, smack her directly in the forehead. Yeah, their handoffs definitely need a little work. But once Gemma recovers from that and actually gets the torch lit, a pretty stunning environment is revealed. The light illuminates these deep, rich red stone walls. The flickering flame casts wild shadows that dance all over the nooks and crannies of the cave. But the real focus, the thing that immediately draws both Gemma and Milo's eyes, is what's sitting in the dead center of the room. It's a wooden chest, complete with gold trim and a heavy lock, just shimmering there in the torchlight.
Section 5. The Compass Key Reveal. As they cautiously walk up to the chest, we've got to ask the exact same question Gemma is asking herself. Why on earth is the broken, rusted compass around her neck suddenly shaking? She opens the top lid of it, and the jagged silver needle, which has been completely lifeless for years, is vibrating loudly. She takes another step closer to the chest, and the rattle gets even louder, practically echoing in the room. Milo is just looking up at her with these wide, glowing yellow lemur eyes. I mean, why would a broken compass start shaking right now?
Gemma carefully pops open the glass cover, grabbing the vibrating needle just to quiet the noise. She stares at it for a second, whispering, "It's almost like it's not a compass at all." And then, to her absolute shock, she pulls upward, and the jagged silver needle detaches from the casing with complete ease. It was never attached at all.
While Gemma is trying to process this literal game changer, Milo scuttles right over to the shimmering lock on the chest and starts excitedly jumping up and down. Now, Gemma and Milo usually have their own little unspoken language, but under pressure, things definitely get lost in translation. Gemma guesses, "You want me to bake you a muffin?" Milo just scoffs, pointing emphatically at the lock. She finally gets it. Use the needle on the lock. Though, to be fair, his lock-picking mime apparently looks exactly like his muffin dance, so you can't really blame her. So Gemma bends down, the torch flickering wildly in one hand, and she presses that twisted silver needle right into the chest's keyhole. Amazingly, it's roughly the exact same size. She gives it a turn. A sharp click echoes out. The top pops open. Milo scrambles up under her shoulder and they peer inside together. And they don't find a pile of gold. They don't find jewels. Instead, they just see their own faces staring back at them, distorted by a blanket of gentle ripples. The entire chest is filled to the brim with dark, ancient water, and floating perfectly calmly right in the center is a tiny, incredibly detailed little boat. And just as Gemma has a half-second to process this completely impossible, magical object, a sound cuts sharply through the dead silence of the cave. It's a familiar jingle, the distinct sound of her old favorite bell, a sound she hasn't heard for many, many years. It immediately prompts Gemma to utter a truly chilling phrase, "Oh, Bramblercrot," which of course leaves us with so many burning questions. Who or what is Bramblercrot? Are we talking about a person, a curse, some old rival pirate? And what does that tiny boat actually mean for our heroes who are currently stranded on the Forgotten Island? Well, we'll leave you to ponder that mystery for now.